another Democrat or another Democrat shield saying something that obviously, and somebody should have told him, was probably not going to go over very well. And guess what? It didn't go
Yeah, I
over
mean,
well.
yes, it'll put her over the edge with Nikki Haley supporters. Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple. They're intimidating to him. He doesn't like to be challenged by them. And, Nikki Haley will call him on his nonsense with reproductive rights and how he sees and treats and talks about women. I mean, he just can't have her around. It wouldn't work.
I think Stormy is intelligent. I don't think that's 100%. She's very smart.
Guys, seriously, how freaking dumb is Joy Behar?
All right, let's just unpack this really quick. Just in the past week alone, Trump supporters have been called Nazis by virtually every media outlet. We have been called garbage by the sitting United States president. And now Mark Cuban has come out and said there is no such thing as a strong, intelligent female supporter of Donald Trump because they don't exist. Respectfully, Mark Cuban, you would not know a strong, intelligent female if she slapped you across the face, which you're such a beta, you might actually kind of like that.
Of all the reactions that I have seen of women, especially women responding to Trump, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of let the cat in the bag and say that I personally believe that Riley Gaines' quit back was probably the best. However, Mark Cuban definitely found a way to, let's just say, trigger conservative women, and it was obviously not a good idea to do so because, as I have said on several occasions, and will continue to say this, and even said this in the 11 o'clock video for today, which of course I advise you guys go check out, that while the Democratic Party believes that abortion is going to be the thing that drives out women, I argue that it's really not on their minds as much as they would think. As I have said before, there's only about two different types of women who really and truly care about that particular issue. Women who frequently want to have sex with random dudes, sluts and whores, and then the other one, of course, would be those who probably will never get laid or don't get laid. That typically tends to be the crowd that the abortion issue attracts. When you get to presidential elections, however, you get more married women, you get more women who are thinking about how to take care of their kids. You get that type of stuff there. You get women who care more about the education topic. You get more women who care about the economy. You get women who care more about the issues of the day like immigration, safety, security. As Robert Barnes had said, the real indicators of whether a president is going to win or not, or whether an incumbent gets unelected, are safety and security concerns, and are you actually prosperous? Well, nobody's really prospering in this economy except college-educated liberals or business personalities like, say, Mark Cuban. Before I go any further, I want to go ahead and kind of take you guys back to how we got started. Now, I'm showing you guys this thing right here, this still image, two still images, one of Mark Cuban beside Rosie O'Donnell, and another one of Mark Cuban beside Rachel Maddow. It's almost as if to say Mark Cuban may be going through a bit of a humiliation ritual, but as former President Trump put in this tweet, which I will link the full tweet in the description box, according to him, Mark Cuban's very insecure. He's unattractive inside and out. I'm not going to read the tweet verbatim. The president, by the way, is back on Twitter and actually posting on Twitter. And I'll just link the tweet in the description box because if I start going through what I remember from that tweet and try to verbalize it, I'm probably going to go a little bit off topic more than I'd like to go off topic. But what have Democrats done this week? Well, you've had Joe Biden tell everybody that they're garbage, and now you've got Mark Cuban telling everybody that Republican women just are not smart, which is basically what he was trying to say. Something else, too, that needs to be said about the strong women comment. I'm pretty sure that Trump surrounds himself around a lot of strong women. Let me give you guys some examples. Laura Trump is obviously the head of the RNC or the co-head of the RNC. Michael Watley is the actual head of the RNC. But Laura, of course, she was there. She's also a UNCW graduate. And you got to be pretty smart to actually withstand that. It's a very underrated university. Melania Trump, his current wife, while it is true that she did model and she did pose in certain risque photographs, she was actually a successful businesswoman before she came to the United States and even met Donald Trump. Ivanka Trump has been successful in her business ventures. While it is that she's not as business oriented today because she's got 3 kids, and of course she's focusing primarily on that. You've got other women out there, like for example what you guys are about to see in this montage, who have came out and basically told Mark Cuban where to go.
I just got off a plane, so pardon my delay in responding to Mark Cuban's disgusting misogynistic remarks. Summer Zervos, Michael Cohen on 3 levels, just confirmed and denied by the Supreme Court of the United States. I'm licensed in 4 states. I graduated college in 3 years. Savage v. Trump. By the way, I could keep going, but those are the cases I win. And your left-wing media and your rhetoric, and you're putting women down. See, President Trump doesn't do that. He surrounds himself with strong women like me. So Mark Cuban, you can go to hell.
Intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple. They're intimidating to him. He doesn't like to be challenged by them.
Kaylee. Mark Cuban. Okay, I had to take a breath before this because this is so profoundly offensive. I worked for Donald Trump. I consider myself a strong woman. I consider those around me strong women. Kellyanne Conway, Brooke Rollins, Ivanka Trump, Hope Hicks, Sarah Sanders. That's before we get to the women that Donald Trump elevated to very high levels, like Nikki Haley, who still supports him, like Amy Coney Barrett, who he put on the Supreme Court, or the women currently around him. Susie Wiles comes to mind, Caroline Leavitt.
You never see Donald Trump around strong, intelligent women. That's the quote, Mark Cuban. I gotta say, I have known you and respected you and loved you for a really long time and have watched every single one of the comments you've made over the last several months. And I don't agree with them, but I respect them. And what you just said there is disrespectful and it crosses the line. How about Tulsi Gabbard? Let me ask you about Tulsi, your friend Tulsi, right? At the end of the day, if she had not left the Democratic Party, I bet that you would think that she's strong and intelligent, but because she crossed the line, she's not.
Our grandmother picked coffee beans in Central America. We grew up with a small business owner father, a legal immigrant family, and even having the opportunity to, having gotten our company to a point where we even had the chance to audition for Shark Tank, let alone like possibly pitch our company to the Mark Cuban, who we absolutely admired us. We were so proud that we even got to that point. But now I realize why they say never meet your heroes, because this is who Mark Cuban clearly is. To hear what you said about hardworking entrepreneurs who come from families of immigrants who literally came with nothing in their pocket and pursued the American dream. Like, clearly we were smart enough to be in the running for a Shark Tank episode. So to say that Trump does not surround himself around strong and smart women is so disrespectful, all for politics. You say that.
I only showed you guys a small bit of Catalina Lofts. Catalina Loft is the one I'm showing you guys in the B-roll footage. Catalina Loft's response to this was a relatively lengthy one, but of course there's also been tweets put out by other women who are conservative. Linda McMahon, for example, is another one. And of course, to go on top of that, there you just go through the list. A lot of women saying, look, what Mark Cuban said was obviously wrong. But here's the thing about Mark Cuban, and I want to be perfectly blunt about this. Mark Cuban, at one time, used to actually be pretty cool. Mark Dice did a video on this, and he basically reminded us all that the reason why Mark Cuban is where he is at is because of an investment during the dot-com bubble. I'll link the video in the description box, and I'll link some more information on Cuban himself. But the truth be told about Mark Cuban, and I'm showing you guys once again a bit from the Best Damn Sports Show period, is that Mark Cuban kind of became popular amongst people my age at that time, 2000, 2001, 2, 3, early 2000s, right before I joined the Marines. The Best Damn Sports Show period was kind of a big thing. You also had Tom Arnold, you had Chris Rose, you had John Sally would go on the show. Jalen Rose even went up there at one point in time. They used to advertise fighters. There was also the bit between Randy Couture and Tito Ortiz. I advise you guys go check it out. Bass Rutten used to go on the show when he was at Pride, a commentator. The Best Damn Sports Show period was a great thing to watch in the early 2000s if you were a teenager. And it was typically that, or it was WWE Raw was what you would normally watch as a teenage male, especially one that was getting a little bit older. Once you start getting into your late teens, you start looking for other avenues of entertainment outside of video games. But the point is this right here. Mark Cuban has devolved to a complete total loon. That's really truly all the hell he is. Now, guys, I could go through all the examples of Mark Cuban being a complete total jackass when it comes to the topic of Donald Trump. By the way, apparently there's a history there. Like Cuban, for example, was interested in potentially helping Trump out in 2016. Trump turned him down, and all of a sudden, Mark Cuban decided to say, well, I'm going to go join the other side, Hillary Clinton. And he put on this face that he absolutely hated Hillary. But the thing about Mark Cuban, and you guys will see over the course of this video, is that Mark Cuban in reality is quite fake once you actually scratch beneath the surface. Before we get started, though, I do want to, I know I've already been started, but I do want to play this clip and kind of break in between from the other night in News Nation. Mark Cuban, for some odd reason, has kind of got it in him to he needs to kind of assert his will as a man, when obviously he's an extremely effeminate man. So he goes on News Nation the other night, and this right here shouldn't surprise you, given what he said about women. It shouldn't surprise you that it's all fake. He goes on News Nation and gets completely bodied by Bill O'Reilly, of all people. Now, I'm going to play the first half, break the commentary, play the second half, come back on the other side, and explain to you guys exactly how bad it is with him.
Trump, inflation was up 25% over the Obama economy he inherited. Ask him about Yemen, where he decided not to take action and allowed 100,000 people to keep on dying in Yemen. Talk to him about his tariffs. What worked with his tariffs? He had 4 years to make tariffs work with China. China kicked his ass.
Hey guys, when I do these videos, sometimes I don't try to just refute everything that's said. A lot of times I want you guys to see the body language out of a person. You can tell that Mark Cuban, this is number one, not all he says has been true. Number two, that thing about tariffs, obviously they are effective because Joe Biden left the tariffs in place. So Joe Biden's not weak on China, but Donald Trump is. Interesting. Very, very interesting. But there is one thing that I did forget about, and that was obviously the price of gas, the thing that I think is driving the most amount of people to go, in fact, vote for Donald Trump, because it's not just gas prices up through the roof, it's also overall energy prices as a whole. Let's watch this next part.
What does he do? He says, if we don't test people, the viruses didn't really happen. He holds back on resources, except for Vladimir Putin, to keep people from getting healthy. That is not an accomplished president, Dana. He has not done anything. What he got, he inherited. You know what?
Right,
his administration was the same as his personal wealth. He inherited it.
I got to jump in with course corrections here. Number one, the real wages, which is really the only economic barometer for the folks, was up 8.2% in the 4 years Trump was president. 8.2 across the board for working Americans. Fact. Under Biden-Harris, it is around 1%. No COVID pandemic. They have failed. Number two, inflation didn't start because Putin and the Arabs did anything. Inflation started, and I don't know whether you know this, Mr. Cuban, but Biden signed in his first week in office at least 20 executive orders, making it harder for every fuel company to harvest their product, whether it be fracking or oil or anything. The fuel company said, holy you know what, we're going to get hosed because our prices to get the stuff out of the ground are quadrupling, so we're going to do it retail now. That's what ignited it, not Putin and not Saudi Arabia.
All the executive orders that Biden undid and then re-signed as in new additional executive orders forced the oil companies to kind of take a stand or have to find other ways to produce their product and get it out there to the pump. Everything involving Vladimir Putin is just icing to go on top of it, or just the cherry on top. But also remember that Colonial Pipeline incident, which was a cyber attack that, of course, occurred under Joe Biden's watch. The truth be told is Joe Biden has been one of the weakest politicians we've ever seen, weakest leaders ever on the topic of Russia. And I don't even think we need to be, and by the way, Russia is obviously a geopolitical adversary, and I do believe we not fully trust them. However, I would say that I think that it would be better suited if you had, I don't know, maybe got Russia to work with you against China, because the truth be told about Russia and China's alliance is that that is an alliance that is holding by an extremely thin thread. Yes, I do know that there are about 80,000 North Korean troops in Russia right now, 8,000 going to Ukraine. Yes, I do know that. How many troops is China giving up? I don't think they've given up anything, just North Korea. North Korea is a little bit more bloodthirsty, a little bit more interested in getting to the action, even though this situation is probably going to bankrupt them. But it's another conversation altogether. Still, though, the point is this right here. The guy is not smart, and yes, it's true, the guy is also fake. He gets everything wrong, and at the end of the day, he's not somebody to take serious. So it makes you wonder why it is that this right here was such a great, big, giant political miscalculation. Well, there's only about maybe 5 days to Election Day, and then you run into some stuff that is currently in Mark Cuban's past, which makes me wonder about those Diddy parties. So I came across this bit from the Patchy Bet David podcast. Of course, you guys know me. I listen to Value Entertainment roughly once a week, kind of catch up on things. And of course, they had the same conversation about Cuban.
And, Nikki Haley will call him on his nonsense with reproductive rights and how he sees and treats and talks about women. I mean, he just can't have her around. It wouldn't work.
I think Stormy is intelligent. I I think that's 100%. She's very smart.
Yeah,
Stormy.
He means is like,
Yeah.
but he has power
on stage
Yeah,
and stuff
power
with
over.
her.
Well,
Stormy smart.
Your thoughts, Tom?
Well, I think Mark Cuban needs to think before opening his mouth because he's being so spontaneous with stuff. I really think he's not thinking it over. He's not a dumb guy. But Kellyanne Conway on staff, that's a pretty strong woman. Tulsi Gabbard, who's been with the campaign for weeks now, campaigning with him, that's a pretty strong woman. I don't know what Mark was trying to accomplish with this comment. Maybe he's trying to audition to put on the Rachel Maddow glasses and maybe be the permanent host of The View. But I just find this to be, what's points he's trying to make? 1 week, Mark says things like, and Mark, if you're watching, I got a lot of respect for you as an NBA owner and the stuff you've accomplished in business. But 1 week you're saying, oh, let's talk about policies. Let's not just do this and this. And the next week, you're making comments like this that are completely away from policy at a time where you're insulting half of the voting bloc. And you're getting into things like you got to pay attention to the people that are around Trump. I don't know what you're trying to accomplish. And I think you're being spontaneous. I don't think you're really engaged on that because we could make a list of people that have been advisors and on cabinet positions and things like that.
I can just think.
Yeah, I forgot about Tulsi Gabbard. But, we're going to be mentioning Tulsi tomorrow. She's going to come up in tomorrow's video on the left going forward. And, of course, Tulsi Gabbard being a colonel in the U.S. Army. Also something else. I mentioned Linda McMahon earlier. You saw Sage Steele. There's also, it's not just conservative women who are around Donald Trump. You've also got doctors, nurses, who, by the way, are very successful, female doctors. You've also got other women in other trades, other jobs, who are going to be voting for Donald Trump, who have been successful in their venture, including also female lawyers as well. Who else do you have? Now, Catalina Loft was the one who had the longest, which I showed you guys earlier. And, of course, you also had Kelly McEnany, former press secretary. What about Kellyanne Conway? She was the first woman to ever get a president-elect, the first female campaign manager to get a president elected, which is something that no Democrat, like I said, has ever done because obviously she was the first. Lots of successful women voted Republican. But, of course, that right there was just the first part of a bigger primer that's coming now. So let's watch.
Mark Cuban donating $10 million to charity after NBA found workplace misconduct 6 years ago. Go ahead and go down, Rob.
Well, that makes it go away.
NBA has reported complete investigation in Dallas Mavericks on allegations of hostile work environment, sexual harassment, domestic violence. Mark Cuban will donate $10 million to organizations that promote women in leadership roles and combat domestic violence after the NBA found serious workplace conduct by former and current employees and improper influence. Okay, great. No problem. By the way, can you do me a favor, Rob, and go to the Guardian article that talks about for 75% of the time, the Dallas Mavericks have been the whitest team in the NBA.
Mark Cuban has been very big on the whole diversity, equity, inclusion agenda, very, very big on the ESG agenda. The truth be told about Cuban is that he is, in fact, a billionaire, but his billions are nowhere near the level of, say, someone like, say, Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos. He's just a fraction. He's just a small fry, pile of other French fries, bigger fries. He's like the one little tiny fry that, like, got into your thing of onion rings when you go to Burger King or you go to anywhere that serves onion rings. You always find, like, a small little tiny French fry. That's basically what Mark Cuban is a small fry. That right there is, like I said, is who the hell he is. The diversity, equity, inclusion agenda that he himself pumps up constantly and advertises is something that he honestly has never really and truly bought into. as you guys can obviously see. The Dallas Mavericks have always been one of the whitest teams in the NBA. Of course, he also brings in a lot of European players. Don't get me started. But still, though, the point is, he's not exactly somebody who practices what he preaches. But we'll get back to that in a second.
If you go Mavs, whitest team in the NBA, and remember, this is a Democrat. So it's not like he's a Republican and they're going after him.
Yeah.
No, I went and interviewed him. He only had pictures of Clinton's on the wall, and I think he had pictures of 2 Democratic presidents on the wall. He didn't have pictures of anybody else. The Dallas Mavericks are consistently white in a black league. Why? Go a little low, Rob. Okay. In 2020, the NBA was 74.2% black and 16.9% white. It seems every decade the white NBA players become less relevant. Yet one franchise has often kept the dream of mediocre white guys alive, the Dallas Mavericks. In 15 of the last 21 seasons, there were 3 or more white players in the 12-man roster. In more than half of those 15 seasons, there were at least 4 white players, not to mention at least 2 starting white players. Now, here's the thing. Why am I showing this? While he's going through these stories that they pop up, okay, while they're going through the Black Lives Matter, although the Mavericks have a dubious history of toxic workplace culture when it comes to female employees, Cuban has thrown his support behind who? Black Lives Matter, and has appointed who? Black CEO Cynthia Marshall, President Turdima Ussery, head coaches Jason Kidd, Avery Johnson, General Manager Nico Harrison during his lifetime in Dallas. Right now, the CEO of Dallas Mavericks, Rob, if you can Google it, I believe it's Cynthia Marshall if he hasn't replaced them yet. So why am I showing this? I'm showing this because he was forced to make these hires.
Well, yeah, Me Too allegations, potential Me Too allegations that have been hidden. God knows what the hell is in Mark Cuban's background. God knows what the hell Mark Cuban has been up to since he's been Mark Cuban. Really a nobody till the dot-com bubble. Here's something else, too, that I wanted to throw out there before I close this video. Mark Cuban recently came out and said he would be willing to work with the Trump administration. Okay, so you don't like Donald Trump. You're going out of your way to get Kamala Harris elected right now. You went out of your way to get Hillary Clinton elected. You went out of your way to get Joe Biden elected. But, of course, now you want to come over and say you would work with the Trump administration. Donald Trump is not going to work with you. As he said in his tweet, which I didn't cover, which, like I said, will be in the description box, he used to call the Oval Office incessantly. The truth be told is Mark Cuban is a great big giant nothing. He has always been nothing. Never will be anything but nothing. That right there is who the hell Mark Cuban is. We might as well just go ahead and call him Mark Nothing. That right there is who the hell this guy is. I mean, look, if nothing had a name, it quite frankly would be nothing because nothing is absolutely nothing. I know that doesn't make any sense or whatnot, but I'm on a bit of a roll right here, so please don't cramp my style. The truth be told, like I said, is that Mark Cuban is, well, not shit. That satisfy you instead of me saying nothing all the time. The point is, he's a chameleon. He'll do whatever the hell he can to survive. He's a lot like Nikki Haley, and those two would actually be perfect together. But then again, though, it wouldn't take long before one of them started cheating on the other. Just my personal thoughts. Fact of the matter is that what Mark Cuban did was he said something to just intensify the voting for Donald Trump, which, of course, these women will, in fact, vote for Donald Trump. Yes, I did say that women in the previous video are outvoting men in this election. However, compared to 2020 and 2016's numbers, it ain't enough to get you elected. I wonder why that's the case. I'm pretty sure most women in this country don't want to vote for a woman who claims to be black, when she's obviously not black. And, of course, she basically did not get voted for to get her spot. She was selected for the spot. And also to go on top of that, I'm pretty sure by now you've already heard me talk about her past and the fact that Judge Joe Brown said it best, she's an old hoe. The woman who was horizontal to go vertical. Most women don't want to be associated with that. But you guys tell me what you think in the comment section. Tell me exactly how dumb you think Mark Cuban is. Make sure you guys please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign off in the comment section. I'll see you guys later.